Okay, we're here at Morris Springs today, less than 40 minutes from Winston-Salem. So I chose this place to put the new versus the old against each other for a few reasons. One, it's really close. Two, it's rugged enough to kind of highlight the strengths of both of these bikes. And three, it has some pretty cool short laps from the parking lot here, which is where I'm standing. So it should work out really nicely. Before we get into the competition of new v old, we should probably talk about the differences on paper and the idea behind the new Hei Hei. Okay, let's start with the weight. The old Hei Hei weighing in at 26.4 pounds versus the new Hei Hei weighing in at a pound less, 25.4. We'll start with the glaring changes here. The new suspension design has the shock mounted at the top tube, opposed to down at the BB. This allowed the engineers to reconfigure the leverage rate of the new Hei Hei. While the old Hei Hei's leverage rate is very high and linear, meaning you'll go through the travel very fast, the first third of the new Hei Hei's travel is slightly regressive, almost flat on top, which increases small bump sensitivity at the beginning of the travel. This leaves the last 2/3 of the suspension very progressive with a 13% change, perfect for big hits. Kona stuck with the fused suspension platform on the rear triangle, so there's no need for rear end pivots. Instead, the seat stays flex, giving the suspension a bottomless feel. The benefits here are weight reduction, stiffness, and less maintenance. Obviously, the new suspension design has freed up some space in the front triangle for 2 bottle cages. This is huge for me as I'm excited to take this bike into the forest for some big days and also to go up against some stage racing, and the 2 bottles in the front triangle will really free up some space in my jersey pockets, so I won't be getting slapped in the back by full bottles. So the updated suspension here results in small bump compliance, snappy for sprints, and bottomless for large hits. Let's talk about the changes in geometry here. So the new Hei Hei is longer in reach than the old Hei Hei. The head tube is slacker by half a degree from 68 to 67.5, and the BB is lower by 3 millimeters. From 340 to 337. So all that results in a longer, slacker, lower ride. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind as we head out on the trail right here. I'm actually gonna take the new Hei Hei out first. I've spent the last 3 years on the older design. I've raced that thing in everything from Pinner UCI XC races to enduro races to stage races throughout the country. And I actually haven't ridden the new Hei Hei at all yet, except for a few wheelies in the backyard and chasing Penny around after I got it built up. With that said, I may need to make some adjustments to the new Hei Hei. I do have a 1 centimeter shorter stem on from a 65 to a 55 to compensate for the added reach. Over the next couple laps, I should really just be feeling the updated geometry of this bike versus the old bike, and I'm looking forward to it. So enough talk. Let's see if the new Hei Hei can walk the walk. Okay, we made it like 10 feet into the trail and I'm already pretty pumped. This thing feels lighter and stiffer already. Seems like there's no pedal bob. I think they did a good job with the leverage rate. Get out of the way, squirrel! It just feels very snappy and stiff, like all the watts are going into forward movement. Let's see what the next 10 feet bring. Okay, I just want to point out that the double bottle cage is not just for show. You can get that thing out and back in without knocking your frame around. Easy peasy. There's a lot of space in there. This is a large frame, I should point out, so maybe that's different on the smaller ones, but I'm pretty stoked. All I can say is wow. New Hei Hei is dope. Seems way more responsive, stiffer, snappier, but it's time to lend some perspective. I'm gonna take that out for a lap just to remind myself what it's like. Feels like home.
Well, I gave you all my love and I gave you all my trust and I gave you everything that you need. But you only told me lies and you made me realize that, babe, you ain't no good for me. I can't be with you, you can't be true. And I know just what I got to do.
So, that wasn't bad, but there were some definite improvements from this to the new Hei Hei. For instance, one of the biggest things I noticed was the pedal efficiency of this guy versus that guy. This one seemed like I said earlier, I stayed on top of the suspension more and it felt more efficient, like I was floating over rocks rather than like finding all the holes in between. On the old Hei Hei, a lot of times it feels like you kind of have some big compressions. Very noticeably less pedal bob on this one versus this one. So climbing out of the saddle and in the saddle as well, when you're like really grunting hard, where I was getting much less bob. The traction on the new Hei Hei versus the old Hei Hei, I think the lower BB and slacker head angle really helped kind of highlight the strength of that. I felt like I could really push through berms and it still felt really stable, like had a really low center of gravity. But overall, this bike just felt more comfortable. The speeds felt a lot slower, even though they were high, all the while maintaining like a super snappy, punchy feel. All in all, my dream bike just got dreamier. We have the pedal feel of a 100 mil XC race bike, even though we're 120, 120. We have the downhill feel of my Process 153, which is like the best of both worlds for me. Now, I'm gonna put it to the real test. There's a KOM loop here at Moore Springs, and I'm gonna go out and try to get it. The loop is about 5.3 miles. The KOM now is at like 27 minutes. I'm excited to push this thing, see what it feels like at pace. Okay, give me the go ahead.
Anytime in the next 15 seconds. Go!
Ouchie mama. That was not easy. I only got it by like, oh, I can't do math right now. Oh, like a minute 6. Wait a second. Minute 4. Whew. So kudos to whoever had it before me, but you'll get a notification in a little bit. Oh man, so the Hei Hei was even more fun at pace. This thing responds very well to speed and was correcting a lot of my mistakes. It's pretty slippery out there, and the roots and rocks are super icy, but man, this thing made it feel nice and smooth. I really like this dropper post. It's got a nice audible, you know when it's up. Longer, lower, slacker is the way. Not saying the old Hei Hei is bad, but I prefer the new one. So with no racing on the horizon, looks like I'll be using this thing to send out a lot more Strava notifications. Sorry, I'm not sorry.